I'm really excited. I have a good friend and a really brilliant expert here with me today. Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well.
So, guys, this is Stephen Gaffney. To who of you that does not know, Stephen is an expert of building excellent teams with incredible speed. You're also an author. And one of the things I like the most about you, you're very smart, you're very sharp, and you're a straight shooter. A little bit of I'll share a secret. We had a call this morning, and you told me something which not a lot of people would have told me. And I think that one sentence just made me think so much about what I need to do. And I was not going to get that insight if it wasn't for you. So thank you. So now, hopefully, we can do it with everybody. So, Stephen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and I'm actually one of the few people that actually ended up getting this virus. And I'm completely fine. I was treated by, I think, one of the best doctors in all of DC, Dr. Osqui. He's fantastic. And so I had mild symptoms, and I'm completely good to go. And it's been an interesting experience along the way. But what it also had me do is it's a great time of reflection. I mean, I think this is true for us all. But how many times are we ever in a situation where we actually are almost forced to reflect? And this is either going to help some people or not. And I believe the best companies and the best people running these companies, small or big, take this opportunity to not only react to the crisis, but grow from the crisis. And in fact, I wrote an article about the 8 stages that go from crisis reaction to crisis growth. But my point here is this is a great opportunity, and not about being opportunistic per se, but you got to be able to move forward.
We have to. And this is happening right now. So we're either going to be victims about it or we're going to do something about it. So I see a lot of people going into that mode. And the 8 stages that you wrote, I've read them, and they really, really make sense. So a lot of us are scared. A lot of us are panicking. A lot of us are putting our heads in the sand. How do we get ourselves out of it? How do we maybe reboot ourselves, reboot the process of what we're doing? Because if not, we're not going to have a business to come back to.
Well, actually, I'd love to do a little drawing. So because we got this, I'm going to do a makeshift because I think this is the kind of the best way to view it. So in life, there are 3 types of human beings. There's the powerless human being. I don't know if you can see it here.
We can see it.
And then on the other side is the powerful being. Let me talk about the difference. Powerless being is the kind of person that reacts to the crisis, says, I don't know what we could do. They're basically a victim. And I don't mean just in crisis per se. I'm saying as a whole, they're always kind of in that mode. You know, what can I do? You know, things are always against me. Powerful being is somebody who views that anything is possible. They know that it's always about growing. They take the setback, they realize the problem, but they don't look to somebody else to lead them out of the darkness per se. They decide that I will find a way. And then in the middle, which I think is a really fascinating, is the third type of human being is a conditional being. And they're the kind of person, they're not powerless, but they recognize that they have some power, but it's conditional on other people. These are the type of people that say, you know, I would do better if the government was doing this, or if this would happen, or if my company did this, or my customers did this. So they recognize power, but it's conditional. So powerless, conditional, and being. Well, here's what I found out the most fascinating about this crisis, as in most crises. When people are faced with crisis, they shift to the left. In other words, people are normally pretty powerful, and you probably saw that. Suddenly, they became conditional. Like, you know, we've got to get the loans and everything else. Not that we shouldn't be getting the loans, because my gosh, I'm even trying to get a loan. You know, the PP, whatever that loan is,
PPP.
Capital One. And let me just say, Capital One's new philosophy should be, at Capital One, we just don't care. Because it's still going on with excuses. But, wait, back to this, so I'm not conditional or powerless. Anyway, we see conditional being powerless, and powerless people just almost being frozen. But now let me use my example, even with Capital One. I'm not going to depend on them to give me what is appropriate and given the regulations. I'm taking charge, and we're going to do all kinds of great things. So I've redone some content. I've added some fantastic content, or at least is what my customers have said. I've wrote the 8 stages. I'm coming out with a lot of things. In fact, one of the neat things I got to tell you about, so it's so exciting, is I'm writing an article now on how companies thrive through crisis. Everybody is like, how do you deal? But thrive. And one of the things is they don't recognize, again, these are powerless beings, but you could even look at powerless companies. When you're in a powerless state, you don't even realize all the opportunities. So here's one of the neat things. Do you know in the Great Recession, so that's 2007 to 2009, maybe even 2010 if we include that, companies like Uber was started. Now Uber's having problems now, but let's face it, they've had a great run. Uber, Airbnb got started by that. Groupon got started. I think Instagram started in 2010. And there's even a host of other companies that some are just slipping my mind. But here's the thing. Even if our business is strong right now, out there are other people coming up with new innovative solutions. So the competition is going to increase because different people are viewing a crisis differently. So you want to get yourself in the powerful being. And here's the trick. I work with leaderships on how to not only stay in this powerful being, but get everybody in your organization is powerful, because here's what we know. When people are feeling powerful, they're smarter. For example, you know, when we're down in life, we all have challenges, and there's a business problem. We're like, oh, not that, right? But when we're feeling good and somebody throws us a business problem, we're like, I'm going to figure out the answer. And actually, we do come out with answers. In fact, we come out with more ingenious answers than we do when we're in not that mode. So the question is, you got to shift here. Well, one of the ways to shift is how we view ourselves. How do we view ourselves and our company? Do we view ourselves as powerless, conditional, or powerful being? And so if you're with us now and you're sitting there going, yeah, but things have been tough. Listen, I'm not saying this is easy, but we have to do what it takes to get over here. And one of the ways to get over here is to think about how the picture that we have in our mind of ourselves, and really be honest. You know, am I being conditional? Am I being powerless? Or do I view myself as powerful? And start to create that image, have the goals, have the beliefs, have the self-talk. You know, you say self-talk in a company. Well, that's how a company talks about itself. You know, is it with pride? How are we moving? And then start to act as if, right? So, you know, you hear fake it till you make it. Well, there's an insincere portion about that, but there's also this psychology matches that when you want to be somewhere, start to act like that, and you'll become that way. You know, I know we talked about this morning, and I know I'm going on because it's so exciting, but the best way to represent what I'm talking about is, have you ever had somebody move to a different part of the US and they develop an accent? And you're like, well, what's happening there? It's because we kind of get adapted to our surroundings. And so when you want to be in this powerful being stage, you got to look at who you're surrounded by. You have to look at who's your team at. And if you're leading a team and you have a weak member of your team and you think, well, I can handle that. Yeah, but how are they infecting everybody else? And that's how I look at it, like infecting. So one of the ways to keep us in a powerful state and to have and stay in that state and get others is to look at who we surround ourselves, because input drives output. So I know I'm saying a lot of stuff, but there's so many great things. But the central message I want to leave, so if we were to stop right now, is look for the opportunities and be the powerful being, because they are right in front of our faces.
Stephen, you threw so much at us right now, but a lot of it is the principles that I would like to think that I'm leading my life. In some of our conversation this morning, you threw some things at me, but basically what I'm saying is I've always thought, and this comes from the late and I think great Dr. Wayne Dyer, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. It's all about our perspective and our mindset. If we're thinking this is a big bad wolf, we're going to run away. But like you said, we gotta recognize the opportunities. And it's almost like diamonds. They're rough right now. They're dirty. They're under the ground. There is work to be done to uncover them. Nothing's going to come to you. Hello, here is. It's not going to come that way. Part of what our journey is, or part of our reason here, is to uncover these things. The Bible says from ugly, or from, will come sweet. From something that is bad will come something that is good. Your job is to unravel that. So I love what you said. And you and I spoke this morning, and we spoke about some analogies. And one of the things we shared with each other is let's imagine this boat, and the boat is riding forward.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are standing there and looking. I don't know exactly how the boat is built. So the back of the boat, we're looking backwards. And we're seeing this wake. And what is this wake? Well, this wake is, our journey through the water. But it has nothing to do with where we're going. It's not propelling us. It has no bearing on what we're doing. Yet most of us look at that and basically base our life based on that wake that we've left.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because to your point, are we looking, in the past and trying to project the future, or are we creating our future? Something I want to seize on that you said though a moment ago, because I think this is where the breakthrough is. Most people talk about how we look at opportunities. Do we look this as an opportunity or how we're viewing it? But what I have found is that's not the needle mover. It's how we view ourselves in a crisis. So the problem is that, have you ever gone and you've seen a motivational speaker speak and you're like, wow, I feel so charged up. You get back to the office and it dies. And the reason is not because the motivation was bad, not because the speaker wasn't fantastic, but because if it doesn't change who you view yourself as, you can't take advantage of the opportunities. So some people can see opportunities and say, yes, I know there's people creating ideas out there and I've got to seize on some of the market possibilities that I'm not seeing, but it's out there. But that's not going to move them unless you view yourself as somebody who's great at seizing opportunities, our self-talk, our beliefs, and everything else. So it's actually, instead of looking at the picture, the question is, are we putting ourselves in that picture? Because if we put ourselves in the picture, then it shifts. So an example would be faced with a crisis. Okay, who I view myself to be as it's going to be challenging. There's opportunities, but we will persevere. I really believe that. So I'm thinking of myself in the picture of the middle of the crisis and figuring out the answer. I believe we all have that capability. Every human being could be so much more powerful, but the way to get to our power, to get to our ingenuity, to think smarter, to be smarter, is how we view ourselves. And one of the critical steps in all this is to be candid, be honest with yourself. The worst lies we tell are the lies we tell ourselves. And they're the kind of person that says, no, I have a great, if we put this in an identity kind of conversation, no, my identity is I'm courageous. I'm a courageous person. But are we acting that way? Because if I'm not really acting that way, I haven't really shifted anything. I've just improved the outward, the marketing picture of it, right? And as you know, because you're such a great marketing expert, you can actually have a great marketing plan, but if the company doesn't act consistent with the message, it's not going to last. That's just like us. How are we viewing ourselves? And shift ourselves, and you'll shift your actions, and you can take advantage of what's right in front of us.
There's a great saying, I think Mike Tyson said it, and I think you said something similar to me in one of our early conversations. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Then it's difficult. Now, I'm taking my experience from the military. You go through things in the military that maybe you should not go through, but the first time you go through that, you don't know what to do. But then you learn. It's a process. So facing these challenges make us grow, changing how we look at ourselves, which is absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so many people lie to themselves. So many people put this front out, but they're so vulnerable from the inside, they actually do not believe it themselves.
Yes, that's so true. And what you're saying about the military and your experience in Mike Tyson. So I do a lot of work with the U.S. military, the Marines, the Navy. I've done work with the Air Force and also a lot of government, of course, many of the corporations like Marriott, Barrick Gold, Leidos, SAIC, Mantech, just done a lot of work. And so, but the military, we can learn so much by them. And they have one of my favorite quotes, and this is so appropriate when we're trying to figure out what to do now. No plan survives first contact with the enemy. No plan survives first contact with the enemy. Which means that it's not that we don't plan, but it means you got to get out there and move. So this is what I'm talking about. Right now, we have an opportunity. I call it the freedom to innovate opportunity. And what this is right now, if you launch a product and service in this environment and it fails, people are pretty forgiving. Normally, they're not so forgiving. right? As a company, you know, it's usually risk adverse, and there are problems. But right now, people are incredibly forgiving. So you got to move out. Well, the way to move out fast is to move out because you'll learn. So it's not that you don't plan. It's not that you don't spend time figuring things out, but then launch it. And then when you get feedback from your customers, you modify. You know, the 8 stages that I created, I had the structure of it and I launched it. And then through feedback, I tweaked it, and ultimately the 7 turned to 8, but the essence of the article and the essence of the stages never changed, but the tweaking did. And now it's just so powerful that I have companies and government entities that are using it as a diagnostic tool. And so the reason why I'm saying this is if you're sitting there and thinking, well, I should launch this product or service, launch it. Well, maybe I should spend money on marketing, spend it. And I'm not just saying because you're the marketing expert, but here's the idea is like, get out there and try new stuff. You know, Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you're kind of if you're just doubling down on what you've always done, you're probably going to get more of the same. This is a great time to try new things. So no plan survives first contact with the enemy. It doesn't mean that you don't plan. It means you plan, but move out and get things out the door now.
I love that. So we spoke earlier and everything kind of been connecting. And for some reason, we mentioned Colin Powell. One of my favorite Colin Powell quotes is, I don't remember the actual one, forgive me, Colin, but it's not the wrong action that costs you. It's the inaction that costs you. And there's so much to learn from military on that. Not doing anything is the worst thing that you can do. Doing the wrong thing is a lot better than not doing anything. So Stephen, thank you. We're going to put all your information up there. You are always an inspiration. I love your enthusiasm. I love your just passion to help people, which I think we share. That's why we became good friends. Love talking to you, and we should do this again very soon. So guys, please follow Steve and see everything that you're going. And we're going to probably put a link, if it's okay with you, to your 8 stages.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks for having me too.
Our real pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.